Bear Clooney is back. Welcome and thank you for joining me at Bear Clooney Watches. As you could see from the introduction, today we are talking about Omega Planet Ocean. Omega is a significant watch company, and probably the two most iconic pieces are Omega Speedmaster, which is the watch that made all the way to the moon, and certainly Omega Seamaster 300, or James Bond, recent James Bond watch. However, I chose to talk about and show you Omega Planet Ocean, which I think it's a revolutionary continuation of Omega Seamaster with significant improvements on the quality of the watch, quality of the movement, introduction, maybe not fully, of the coaxial movement, and overall, one really amazing diver. Now, before I start, I do want to kind of talk about my emotional connection with this watch. I chose the one with the orange bezel, and it's not really orange. If you look kind of at that bezel, it reminds me of the sunrise or sundown. I associate that bezel with a beautiful sun. And here in Ontario, unfortunately, this year we had such a long winter. So I woke up today with this beautiful sunshine, this beautiful sunny day, and it gave me certain feeling that associates to this watch. Now, I do have both calibers in my collection when it comes to Planet Ocean, 2500 and 8500. Yet I chose today to show and talk about the 2500. Well, there are things I like about both sides. There are things that I favor on each side. So I kind of want to touch on that too. When it comes to 2500, I certainly appreciate the price and the value. But they are rising in price. And I would say the value is kind of diminishing in that aspect. However, it's still a decent value. When it comes to this watch, I also appreciate the solid case back because the engraving, the Omega Seahorse, is just beautiful. And they did such a nice job with it. It's almost like a piece of art on your wrist. When you take it off and you take a look, it's just so gorgeous. I will obviously show you that when we go to Bear Clooney Watch Studio. The other thing, I kind of like the vintagey retro feeling when it comes to this watch. There is something kind of more vintage when it comes to 2500 than 8500. Also, I appreciate the size, slightly smaller, thinner, and I think I appreciate that aesthetically. I know it's a diver and you can afford to have a larger piece, but it just adds to a certain elegance of the watch. Also the bezel. This beautiful orangey bezel that has that unique shine and unique feeling of a sunrise or sundown is not, I think, achievable in ceramic. It just has its uniqueness in the way it's done on this piece. So maybe those would be the thing that I favor, and I probably have a little bit of aesthetic and emotional connection more with this one than with my black 8500. Now, when it comes to 8500, certainly the movement is better, as it is a fully in-house coaxial movement. I also really like the metal applied 6, 9, and 12. Even though on this one the orange paint 6, 9, and 12 do have its charm, I would say I prefer the metal applications for 6, 9, and 12 at the caliber 8500. And you know what? There are advantages of ceramic bezel. In fact, it is scratch proof and it is beautiful in its own way. So those are kind of thoughts from the perspective of this watch and why and how I see these two different calibers from the same line. Now, when it comes to coaxial movement, that's another thing that intrigues me when we talk about Planet Ocean. Even though we know that it's not done exactly in the way it was meant to be, I still think it's a very interesting, and time will tell if this movement will be longer lasting between the service periods. It's still early to talk about it, considering that it came out just 2005. That watch, Planet Ocean, and these movements are relatively new, and we don't know exactly how will they behave, and will the whole idea of 10-year interval for the service will be actually applicable in this case. I think it's an interesting movement. I think it's a beautiful movement. I really like the artistic vision that's shown in one of the Omega commercials when it comes to this movement, that it feels like it's not made by human. Let's take a look. I think it's a really cool impression of the coaxial movement. I really enjoy that artistic interpretation of coaxial movement and the overall Omega's vision of this movement and its brand. Now, I think it's time that we jump into Bear Clooney Watches studio and take a closer look at this beautiful timepiece, as well talk a little more about Planet Ocean line. Join me. And here we are at Bear Clooney Watches studio, taking a closer look at the Omega Planet Ocean 2500 caliber orange bezel. You will notice that I'm kind of showcasing another passion of mine, liking for Cohiba. And that's another connection I make with this watch. This watch, as I mentioned, is my summer watch that represents sunshine, sunrise and sundown on my wrist. And I really love the moments with this watch and Cohiba in a beautiful summer evenings. Now, this Planet Ocean is the first significant redesign of the Seamaster since the introduction of the Omega Seamaster Professional in 1993. The Planet Ocean is offered in two different size variations. One is in 42 millimeter and the other one is 45.5. And I find that this size of 42 millimeter is just perfect. Now let's for a moment enjoy the shine of that beautiful sunrise, sundown bracelet. Planet Ocean is in this size very similar to the size of the previous Omega Seamaster Professional. One thing that obviously differentiates it is the scalloped bezel shape of the Seamaster Professional is gone, and in its place on this Planet Ocean is the coin edge bezel that's quite reminiscent of the Seamaster 300 from the later 1950s. This dial also pays homage to the Seamaster 300, as the marker designs and layout are almost identical in their appearance. It's kind of like drawing from both the Omega Broad Arrow and Aquaterra with their arrow head shape. I think it's just aesthetically beautiful. While the case design of the Planet Ocean is very similar to the Seamaster Professional, water resistance is significantly improved on this Planet Ocean to 600 meters versus 300 meters on the Seamaster Professional. Yet the watch is still relatively thin, if you notice that. It doesn't really get too thick, and that's another thing I enjoy on this gorgeous and exciting watch. When it comes to the Omega Caliber 2500 movement, within the case, it's most interesting feature of this watch. Like the Omega Caliber 1120, which is commonly used in a Seamaster Professional line, the self-winding Caliber 2500 is based upon the ETA 2892-2, and it has a beautiful bracelet. It kind of drapes nicely, yet it's firm. I love the clasp. It's the only problem with the clasp, it scratches very easy, and desk diving is not necessarily a friend of this clasp. Now you can kind of see what I was talking earlier when it comes to the back of this watch. I think this Seamaster Seahorse engraving is exceptional, and it's like a little hidden piece of art in the back of this watch. Now, to go back to the Caliber 2500, it's adding actually 2 more jewels as compared to the Caliber 1120. So this movement has 27 jewels in total as well. It's employing the revolutionary coaxial escapement designed by George Daniels. The primary engineering advantage gained by this design is greatly reduced friction. Thanks to this reduction in friction within the movement, the Caliber 2500 requires minimal lubrication, and it is believed that the Planet Ocean can go to an amazing 10 years between servicing and has a warranty period from Omega 1 year longer than other watches they sell. So it's not just a beauty, it's not just this gorgeous dial, it's not just a heritage, but it is this advancement in actual movement. Also, Caliber 2500 is equipped with a simplified regulating system called free-sprung balance, which greatly improves the timing precision of this COSC certified movement. Now the speed of this movement vibrates at 25,200 vibrations per hour, which is a bit of unusual beat speed, as it hasn't been used before in a movement balance. Apparently, the outbound speed is attributable to the complex coaxial escapement and the somewhat narrow parameters in which operates optimally. Overall, if we're looking at this watch, it contains great heritage, great advancements in a movement, but I still always go back to its unique and beautiful design. Look at the bracelet. Look at how it drapes. It just, they were so superior. I mean, Rolex is now coming up with the best bracelets, but Omega truly did amazing job prior. And it's just a well-built timepiece. Now, to go back to the discussion on this Caliber 2500, which is hidden behind this solid case back, which I just love, Omega has applied a premium level of finishing to this movement. So don't kid yourself. They take it very seriously, even though it's ETA. The rhodium coating and Geneva waves on the rotor and bridgework are actually stunning. The rotor is also signed with the Omega logo and caliber number. While it's too early in the caliber 2500's production history to make any definitive judgments, it is clear that the movement has the potential to take a seat at the table, which includes the world's greatest automatic movements. Moment of Cohiba next to my watch. Many watchmakers consider the ETA 2892 a legendary movement in its own right, with the impressive modifications that Omega has applied to create the caliber 2500. The horological significance of the movement is increased by an order of magnitude. So, altogether, this is a worthy successor to the Seamaster Professional line and a strong contender in a hotly contested luxury sport watch segment. My personal tastes tend to lean more towards this smaller size. I like the orange bezel, and I like the 2500 caliber for the reasons mentioned before. Now we are going to shut the light off and take a quick look at the lume of this watch. And as you can see, this is high quality lume. This is a watch that has a potential to be a true diver piece. This is not just a desk diver. This is watch with a depth, resistance, and a lume and legibility that is impressive. Now we're going back to Bear Clooney's cave to see the watch wrist presence. And here on my 7.25 inches wrist, you can see the wrist presence of beautiful Omega Seamaster Planet Ocean 42 millimeter. A really nice bracelet. A bezel that truly adds a certain aesthetic qualities to this piece. Perfect size. Really not too thick. A beautiful watch. Well, I hope that you have enjoyed this presentation, the presentation of my Omega Planet Ocean 2500 caliber orange bezel. I personally love this watch. As I mentioned earlier, it brings a nice feelings. It is often associated inside of me with sunrise and sundown. It brings the sunshine on my wrist. If you enjoyed this video, I would really appreciate if you click on like. If you did not subscribe, please subscribe and join me on this venture. Together we can continue our search for perfect timepiece. I really appreciate you watching and have a great day. Thank you and see you soon.